So I had a SpaceX interview earlier this year and I learned three main things. I call it the OFT principle. I shared it on LinkedIn and it helped a lot of people over there, so I wanted to help some people over here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Sydney Chukwukamadiweke. I built the Aerospace Resume Bank, which has about 25 plus resumes from interns and other career professionals at SpaceX, NASA, and other aerospace companies. And I also build rockets. So in this video, I'm going to explain what each letter in OFT means, and explain why it's important, and then I'll give you some insights to how it relates to my interview. So let's hop into it. All right, so let's do an exercise, okay? I want you to look at your resume or portfolio, okay? Look at everything that you have listed on there, all the bullet points, and I want you to just pick one, okay? And I want you to explain that bullet point in painstaking detail, okay? If you can't do that, you're cooked, okay? Because in a SpaceX interview, they're going to grill your resume. It's important to know your fundamentals, right? You know, static, solids, all the things you're learning in an engineering degree. But more importantly, they're going to grill you on your resume more than anything else. If you have something listed on your resume, you have to be able to own it, okay? You cannot fake this. They want to see proof, right? They want to see that does this guy actually know what the hell he's talking about? So for example, I applied for the manufacturing technician position at the Starlink facility in Bastrop, Texas, okay? And one of the questions that they asked me was related to something on my portfolio, which was a part I designed, and I mentioned that I use design for manufacturing principles in it. So for example, they asked me questions like, okay, what specific design for manufacturing principles did you use on that design? Okay, and then, for example, I said, I simplified the design. So, okay, well, how exactly did you simplify the design? Okay, all right, so you have to explain, how you simplified your design. And before that, if you didn't actually use DFM, you just put it on your resume because it sounded nice, well, boom, you're caught right there. Okay, so then you could say something like, oh, I simplified the design by, reducing the number of parts I created, and I tried to add fasteners whenever possible. And they say, okay, that's cool, but I see a part on there that doesn't actually look like it's designed for manufacturing. Like it looks like it could be optimized a little bit more, right? Okay, do you know what I'm looking at? This is actually what happened, right? And if you are actually familiar in DFM and you actually know your design, you should be able to look at your design and be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, this is something that could have been optimized better. And for me, it was a crankshaft, and it was just, I added fillets on it that didn't really need to be there. I just added it because it looked nice. So, I relayed that to him. He was like, okay, yeah, that's what I was looking at. I just wanted to make sure. So things like that, if you did something, you have to own it, okay? Because they're going to ask you, a series of follow-up questions, of, why you did the thing you did. They want to understand why you think the way you do, right? And then one more, I remember they were asking me like, okay, what material did you use it, and why did you use that material, okay? And what's the cost, what's the trade-off using that material as opposed to this material? Things like that, right? So if you actually did your design and owned it, you should be able to answer these questions. It's very easy when they do this to figure out who actually owned the project and who was actually just there, right? So make sure, keep that in mind. So if you're keeping up with SpaceX, that in the last 20 or so years, they've landed a rocket booster on land, on sea. They've landed 2 simultaneously. They docked at the ISS. They took astronauts there. They've launched and are currently operating the largest constellation of, internet beaming satellites ever. And currently in Starship, they're developing, one of the most ambitious rockets ever built. And they're doing this so that we can go to Mars and begin making humanity multiplanetary. They're cracked, okay? A lot of the things that I mentioned, all those things are things that have never been done before, right? It's the first time that it's ever been done by a private entity for sure. And SpaceX is currently operating in the domain of the unknown. At SpaceX, surface level thinking, it's just not allowed, okay? It's not enough to say, oh, this is how things have always been done. You have to be able to say, okay, if X is true, Y must be true, right? So you have to boil everything down to their most fundamental principles and then reason up from there. Not, oh, well, this has always been done before, so this must be true. Don't reason like that. So for example, let's say, you're in a manufacturing facility and there's a part that keeps coming out of alignment because of, excessive vibrations, right? Don't just put the part back into alignment, right? That's surface level thinking. You have to be able to go deeper. You have to say, okay, well, why is this part, keep coming out of alignment? And you have to be like, oh, okay, well, it's because of excessive vibration. Okay, well, why are there excessive vibrations? Oh, it's because this. Oh, it's because this. Oh, it's because, and then you narrow it down to the most fundamental cause, and then you realize that, oh, okay, this is the root cause, and then you address that. And ideally, once you fix that, everything else is good, right? And if not, then you can further conduct, further tests from there, right? But you can't just say, oh, it's out of alignment, let me just do this, right? You do that, you'll probably get fired. Okay. Yeah, you need to be able to quickly identify the root cause of things and, fix symptomatic issues, right? So, some of the things that I mentioned that they've done, SpaceX famously, Elon famously, he went to Russia, to go buy some rockets, realized they were stupid expensive, okay, tried to come back and do it here in America, also stupid expensive. Then he realized, oh, if you just vertically integrate everything, you can cut down costs by quite a bit, right? First principles thinking. Again, same thing with landing a rocket. Why the hell are we throwing rockets away? Oh, it's not possible. Bullshit. He lands a rocket and now everyone else is copying him, right? First principles thinking. As Elon says, physics is law, everything else is a suggestion. Now, this one is going to be highly dependent depending on the role you're applying to, but really what it boils down to is just, okay, will this person be able to do the things he's going to be tasked with doing? Okay, and this is the part where I, flunked my interview. I just didn't have enough technical skills for the ability for the things that they wanted me to do, so that they decided to move on with somebody else. As I mentioned, I applied for a manufacturing technician position. They told me that, in this role that I'd be tasked with, fixing things on the manufacturing assembly line when they go down. So they wanted to know, like, do I have experience, like, working on cars? Do I have experience, taking things apart, putting them back together? I didn't really have too much experience doing things like that. And in my university days, I didn't work in any of the FSAE or the rocketry club, though I did apply. They just didn't take me. Again, I got rejected like 3 times. But that aside, I just didn't have enough technical skills. So that's why I'm building more things now, building the rocket. Still working on that video. It's gonna go out soon. Stay tuned for that. Yeah, I'm just working on increasing my technical skills because that was, one of the things that I fell back on. So yeah, SpaceX, they don't expect you to know everything, but they do expect you to know certain things, and within reason, and they expect you to learn things quickly. So you need to be a fast learner, right? So in order to, make sure that you have this part, well, just build, right? If what I should have done, even though I wasn't able to get into the clubs at my school, I went to UT, by the way, because even though I wasn't able to get into the clubs, I should have built more things on the side. You want to be building as much as possible. That's how you get those technical skills up. So one of the best ways to gain experience building things is to work somewhere where your job is to build. And one place that SpaceX will be particularly interested in the things you've built is NASA. So if you want to gain experience building things at a place like NASA, I made a whole video talking about the 6 most common ways. And so go check that one out if you're interested. We're all going to make it. I'll see you later.